So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are again back with our one-on-one series, which is in continuation to the Outstanding Security Performance Awards in association with BW Business World and media partners, BW Security World, BW Defense, BW Police World, and Security Link India. As you're aware that we are having a detailed session with each of the panelists, because we got an overwhelming response that the time was very limited to hear to the panelists. So in today's session of the OSPA's one-on-one, we have retired Lieutenant Colonel Himani Thapiyal, who is the CSO and Head Plant Administration Vedanta Limited at Chhasugura. And I always tell her that the situation that she is working in is very, very challenging, and she's been doing a wonderful job. She's recently been awarded a couple of awards as well. Congratulations, Himani.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome on this one-on-one session of the OSPA's 2020 in India. We had the panel discussion where you were a panelist, and the theme was that what women in security, what challenges do they face and how do they overcome. I think we cannot have anybody better than you to speak about that. So what are your opening remarks on the subject, Mani?
Thank you, Rajiv, for giving me this opportunity, and it's very, very exclusive and close to my heart, I would say. We are the generation, wherein we have changed a sea change. I started my professional journey in 2004 when I got commissioned into Corps of Engineers, and in my regiment, I was the first lady officer. So it was almost like as if, in an Indian Army unit, you have bought an equipment from Russia and the catalog has not been provided. So the equipment is there, but you don't know what to do with that equipment. So for the Corps of Engineers, the ratio, when I see here, when I joined corporate, and when people talk about the diversity ratio as 13%, and then they take ambitious targets of 30% or something, I always compare it with my journey. We were at the ratio of 1:800. So that was the ratio with which I had started, wherein, and Army is a beautiful organization, which is, in fact, they conceived the idea of diversity without mentioning it. There was no human cry on that they are going to hire females. They just hired females without changing the criteria at all. There was no, announcements made for that. Very simply, same meritocracy benchmarks with the same SSV standards, they hired females slowly, steadily, and the number is every year increasing. So that's itself, those numbers, they speak for themselves. It gives an idea that yes, women officers are doing well. That's what, every year they're increasing the induction. So my batch was the first one to start off for the Corps of Engineers, being the armed forces. And I think, these traditionally male-dominated sectors, what we call, army, defense, and paramilitary / industrial security. So these are, yes, traditionally male-dominated sectors, but three main factors would like to discuss over here is one is social fabric. Is our social fabric ready? Then individual. Then as an individual, am I ready for this challenge to come up with? And third, very important is, if all the both things are there, let's suppose social fabric is also ready, individual is also ready, are opportunities available or not? So these three things actually make a lot of, will ease out the, way for the women professionals to take on the roles which were traditionally thought that maybe, can be done by only men. So these three things I think are very, very important. And in this, my take remains as, because I'm in an industry which is manufacturing and mining, and this industry is also considered to be a male-dominated industry. So yes, there are requirements, there are certain requirements, but here, would like to break this issue into two parts. when we are hiring a female professionals, so the thing is that your entire cost of production goes high, because for that one position, if it is a duty position, let's suppose if you have to come into 24/7 shifts when I'm talking about, so the entire calculation, your entire cost of production is, instead of 3.5, it moves up to 4. So I always feel that for a brand, established brands, it is definitely possible. But for entrepreneurs, for the new brands which are coming up, for them, maybe it would be a difficulty. So let's not be in a hurry to hire females and increase the very high numbers. Rather than, I would say we can go slow and steadily, and the onus remains with the big fishes, with the big brands. They can always do so. And then the market will have the opportunity for the right set of candidates.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Himani, for the opening remarks. I think even if we have to speak for hours and hours, we can discuss this point,
Yes.
As long as. But please tell us, we have elaborated the situation of hiring women in the industrial area. So what do you think? What stops women to develop? What are the challenges for a woman to develop in a specific made industries that you mentioned about, or where you are currently working?
Yeah. So, few things I would say, Rajiv, are common to both the genders. Like, few things would like to mention, like fear to fail, perfectionism, lack of delegation, focusing on the end result too much, excuses, procrastination, then expectations, distractions, or lack of consistency. So all these factors, I think, are common to both the genders. It is nothing, about male, female. It can happen with the male also, and it is equally for the females as well. But we can always, improve our response towards the problem. So the mind benders, which I think remain with the individual, because in the initial thought only I had said, there are three factors: social fabric, individual, and opportunity availability in the market. So individual factor when I'm talking about, so I really feel that there are, few issues with females. We are not ready to delegate, be it my kitchen, be it my, work. so we that lack of delegation, because maybe we are so much passionate about it, so much perfectionism goes into it. So female leadership, this is a very common issue, which I also recommend to all the young girls, that start getting things done. Doing things is a good thing. Individual performance is very nice thing, but can you get things done? That's equally important. So can you delegate your household? Can you delegate your some work at home? Not that everything I will do. So these are a few things which I think are gender specific to the females. They are more into it.
Allow me to interrupt. A very interesting point you have made: the delegation of work. Is it because of the nature of women, or it's a social stigma?
Yeah, I was also covering the same point, Rajiv. Why females fear to delegate? Maybe we are responsible for it, because when a little young girl, because I'm a mother of a 10-year-old girl, when she is demanding things at home, she is very particular about a concept or a subject, we start calling her being bossy. So it happens even in the office also. A manager who's very demanding, who's very clear cut in his mind that what is to be done next, we always appreciate that manager. But if the same quality is being imbibed by a female, it's considered that she's very bossy, obnoxious, and all those things are attached. So we all come with a burden. There is a baggage behind women leadership. I have to be nice also. I cannot shout at people. So these are the baggages which I'm carrying. Which baggages a male bosses doesn't carry. He can shout at people and still be nice. Still he can be, termed as a very good boss. But for a female boss, because of baggage, then I have to, always be smiling, always be, nurturing, and always be promoting people and, giving them that space to grow. So it is good. It is very good. I'm not saying that as managers or as leaders, we shouldn't be doing that, but we should not carry that baggage. So yes, the females who are, more onto it than these terms like bossy. So this is a social issues. which actually develop into the female leadership, wherein they get stuck into it, And here, a very beautiful one advice would like to give all to my young women professionals. What I had listened from one of the interview of Indra Nui. She mentioned that for the females, if they want to grow well in their career, initial days, it's good to have your family when you are young. It's good to have your children and, complete all your responsibilities before 30, because that time you are individual performer. The moment you are 30 plus, you get into middle level managership. And then you 35 plus, then you are leader. So something else is expected out of you. So by that time, it's always good to, complete your family obligations, and by 30, if you can. So it definitely helps to grow. So this one advice which I thought that we'll share with everyone. This is something wonderful ma'am had said in one of our interviews.
That's it. Okay, so one thing you just advised about how to prepare for the leadership role. So what else do you want to share with the audience, that how do women professionals should prepare or be ready for a leadership role? Is there a breaking the ice? Is there a concept of breaking the ice ceiling directly proportional to the leadership role?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, breaking the ice ceiling, and this was a very beautiful concept. In fact, I would like to, explain it also as per the Federal Glass Ceiling Commission, 1995. The glass ceiling is the unseen yet unbreachable barrier that keeps minorities and women from rising to the upper rungs of the corporate ladder, regardless of their qualification or achievements. What a beautiful definition. It explains, it encompasses everything. What is that glass ceiling? So, yes, there is a sort of, unseen barrier, wherein I recommend to the young leaders that the very simple step, what you can do to yourself is, don't be guilty. Very, very simple, to all females. Being aspirational, being bossy, don't be guilty. There's nothing wrong in being correct. There is nothing wrong in thinking about your own career. There's nothing wrong about it. There is nothing wrong about having a sumptuous breakfast yourself also when you are giving it to the family. There is no need to eat the leftovers. There is no need to be in a hurry and always, serving others, and respect yourself. You are also, equally busy. You are equally contributing in the office. You are equally tired. When after plant, completing my entire duties, when I go back home, am I not equally tired than my male counterparts? So these are the things I say, very, very simple thing you can do to yourself is, don't be guilty when you are going late at home. You have done no crime. Being aspirational is no crime. And what will happen, Rajiv, here, like at home, I have got one son and one daughter. So when they will see their mother, that when a son sees that my mother, she's, there is nothing wrong. She comes home late and, she has work, she has her own career, she has her aspirations. So he will automatically start respecting his partner when he will grow old. He will understand that, yes, it is normal. There's nothing wrong in it. Similarly, my daughter will understand that there is nothing wrong. There's no need to be guilty. I can be aspirational. I can also fetch my dreams. So yes, in one of the books I had read, and it's very beautiful, that as female, I want to fly also, and I want to keep my nest also. So we are more demanding. We want both, not one, but both the worlds required.
Wonderful. And I really like when you said kids will learn. So yeah, the home is the first school and the mother is the first teacher of every child. So they will learn from here. Maybe the next generation will understand how to respect and see all women, professional women, in the same in the same manner. I always say we have been discussing this topic quite often, and I always say when we stop discussing this topic, then the day, that is the day when we are successful in considering women as equal partners. As long as we are discussing it as a subject, there is something, we never discuss men insecurity. Let's discuss men insecurity. We never. See, Hillary Clinton once said that, most of the women in most of the countries speak the same language of silence. What do you want to say about this? Is it changing?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it getting changed, the definition, the statement of Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree, Rajiv. There was one book by Taslima Nasreen also, and in that ma'am had also written the same thing, you know, very beautifully. I'll speak it in Hindi. That line said, दंगे किसी कौम के खिलाफ नहीं होते, दंगे औरतों के खिलाफ होते. What a beautiful line. You know, that time I still remember I was in my college days, and when I read that line, I really was having goosebumps, and today also I'm having it. So these are the words which are really true. And, I totally agree that most of the times, a lot of baggage is attached with the women professionals, a lot of expectations, and maybe we are groomed in that manner. Or maybe we can say that we do have that nurturing, genes inside that which makes us do all those things. But these baggages, when we carry and along with the pressure of performance, especially in the senior leadership roles, at times it becomes very, very challenging, because it's the matter like in a boardroom, you are, 1:20. In a business continuity call, you would be 1:50. So there are certain things that you cannot be, you cannot shout, or you cannot do this, you cannot do that. A lot of social stigmas are attached to it. So maybe at times it becomes very, very difficult. And in fact, would like to share, I had listed out few facts, was Googling it through. Long way to go. There was, percentage of women workforce in major sectors, it was shown as. In health, globally, it is 48% only. And then again in education, it is 55. In India, it is 49. Hospitality, 43 globally, and 16 in India. Again, see, hospitality business. Manufacturing, where I am. Globally, the number is 33. We are at 18 as India. Then again, oil and gas, 20 versus 8. So these numbers itself, they speak that how, our grooming have been done. And there are many things involved. A lot of times I've heard that females cannot, be going into the mechanical. There would be, people would say that, okay, I don't want my daughter to wear dangri and get beneath the car and repairing it. So
let's do electronics and computer engineering.
Yeah. So when we don't have those girls available, then how would they come into the workforce hierarchy? And if we really want to become 5 trillion economy, if we really have that ambition by 2025, and I was just checking 2019 census, the females are 48.03% of the population in India. So it's just not possible unless our female workforce start coming and they start working, and we select people as per meritocracy rather than on gender. So these factors are very, very important actually, and very true in terms of that how difficult it becomes at times for ladies when the opportunities are not available just because of the gender.
Okay, so before I ask you the last question, this is one very interesting thing in coming back to the security as the domain, and I'm very interested to know from all the analysts and speakers. Recently, during the COVID-19 time, suddenly we have spoken earlier also that security has gained back its respect once again. Security is an important function in all the domain, whether it is hospitality, healthcare, even the industries, etc. And I feel that the CSO is the new chief advisor to the management. Is it true to your situation as well?
Absolutely, Rajiv. Absolutely. Two things, because 2020 is a year of sustainability for businesses. So people are really redesigning, rethinking, and your security and safety budgets are being asked, though we are already in the Q2, but again we've been asked that what all you need again, which was earlier, used to be a top-down approach.
Yeah, first time ever.
Yes. Otherwise, security and safety budgets used to be always a top-down approach. Okay, I have only 10 rupees to spend, I'll spend this much. It was always top-down. But now, for a good change, for a good thing, it is going down, up. So now better things will come up, and we should not be wasting any crisis. I think no crisis should go waste. So all these strategic leaders, I'm sure, must be planning a good security or safety, plan for their entity, so that it can be sustainable, it can yield better results, and quality also. I'm seeing that recently I'm listening it that a lot of businesses, are looking onto it. There are two things: the safety, security, and quality aspects. So these, I really feel that this industry is going to really, and we have proven results. Now security officers are not only involved with one thing or the two. In fact, I was reading one of the Barack Obama's lines. He said, for every CEO in America, he suggested that if you want to really succeed and do well, keep one veteran CSO with you. So though I'm being biased, apologies for that. But maybe he meant that having a strong security professional, beside a CEO, actually adds on to the edge.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Himani, security, and that too in the industrial environment, is a 24/7 job. So how do you keep a balance between your personal life and your professional life? You have two growing kids, and you work in one of the toughest environment that I know of. How do you keep a work-life balance?
Yeah. So Rajiv, I'll repeat it again that I'm absolutely a guilt-free soul, a guilt-free mother. Even if I'm late, at home, I don't feel guilty of it. So that is the first funda I always keep. But yes, balancing professional and personal life is very important. And it's not gender specific. I think it is important for both the genders. It's equally important to take a break, to halt, and then come back again, rebounds. So it is not gender specific. But yeah, for females, keeping in mind the current social scenario and the kind of environment we have, yes, it is difficult for females, especially when the kids are young, and the family support and other things. So here I would really say that very important aspect is, we must be having a good priority setup. So this is one word actually, Rajiv. Many would say that it is utopian to say, keep priorities maintained. So though everyone knows it, everyone is aware that, having right priorities set up, but how many of us can implement it? That is more important. So we are aware of it. So maybe, I'll share a few things what I have learned in last 16 years of my professional career, that actually you need to, learn the art of delegation. That's very important. Then only you will get time to strategize, to think, to plan. So very important, art of delegation. So this is the way I'm saying, how you can build your priorities. Then
it is also directly proportional to the trust in the team, right?
Yes, absolutely. And then stay connected throughout the day. You have so many means and things available nowadays. You can always be connected with your family, with your kids, whenever they are on. So use technology so that you are connected. You don't feel bogged down, neither they feel that your absence so much. So even if you're working on your laptop, if your video is on, at least the child can see you, and that kind of a connect and comfort a mother also gets. So limit distractions and time wasters, I would say, for the females, especially, wherever that we need to really, because for us, the time is really precious, though it is applicable to both the genders, and draw a line between home and work. Respect yourself, very important, I would say. Respect yourself, even if you are late, even if you have not given time on a weekend, that's fine. That was not the last weekend for your kids. So you can spend, plenty with them. So let's not. And the more, you know yourself and your priorities, the more balanced I think your life, work, and, combination would be. So know about yourself, what is required, where you need to sharpen your tools. So that ways, I think it helps to set the priorities. So I'm just not saying that set the priorities. I think maybe this way it can help people to set their right priorities.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Shivani. Before we, I would like you to make three comments, and you would like the listeners to adhere to maybe COVID-19 or the post-COVID-19 era, and just 3 comments. Your closing remarks, three comments on that.
Yeah. So, post-COVID, many things we have learned that, yes, there is no need of quantifying our work proportional to the hours spent in the office, which was earlier a big taboo factor. I'm very, very happy that COVID came, and at least this is clear to the people that professionals who are not sitting late in the office can still be effective and can be good for the organization. In fact, Rajiv will take the liberty of sharing one anecdote. My own chairman, sir, Mr. Anil Agarwal, once he mentioned this thing that I was hearing one of his YouTube, wherein he mentioned that I like female professionals because they are always in a hurry to go back home. So they finish up their and then they go back home. They are not like that, having tea breaks or long coffee breaks.
Right.
So very, very fantastic. So I think that's one point which I think that now our efficiency is not proportional at all to the number of hours we spend.
Well said.
Second, as a women leader, as a any leadership, I think it's very, very important now to draw correct lines. How will you quantify the work of your team members? So because now you cannot see them in the office. So earlier we were having that recency effect only during the last quarter. Whosoever is seen more, heard more is supposed to be, doing better. So you don't have that tool now. That recency effect will not work. So now you don't have anybody to see it around. So it's better to have the right quantification, right KPI matrix available with you so that you can judge and take the right decisions in hand. And third would be the advice only for my officers who are into the field of protection professionals. It's very, very important to utilize this current scenario and strategize your things and start thinking on the lines of upgrading your manpower, because we have to actually upgrade from gates, guards to gigabytes. There is no second thought. So everything is going to get digitized. So now start getting onto it, learn yourself, and arrange a training sessions for your employees also, for your staff also, security staff, that they become habitual and they can be used for better technological upgraded jobs rather than what mundane or dangerous jobs they were earlier doing. So now definitely your patrolling, your everything will get into virtual platforms. So there is no second thought on that. So it's better to equip ourselves as fast as possible.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for such insightful thoughts and comments that you shared with us in this session. We have to close this session because of the limitation of time. Otherwise, I think we can go on hearing you as much as you can speak. So thank you very much. But we will not miss any opportunity which comes our way to have more of your thoughts and your experience to be shared with the OSPA's members and the audience across the world. On your behalf, I would commit to the listeners of this video that if they have any questions to you, they can write to us and we'll definitely share it with you. And I am sure that you will answer them back as and when you can. Thank you so much, Himani. It was a pleasure having you once again with us, and we'll have you soon and in some of the next opportunity that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raji. Thank you. Thanks.